Do you suffer from poor decision making syndrome? Are you guilty of always making wrong decisions, which always comes with grave consequences? Are you always confused about how to decide what's best for you? Make sure to stick to the end of the video then. So one thing that life has taught me since I officially became an adult is that for everything that I do, I have to make decisions. And sometimes these decisions are tough decisions, sometimes they are like just your regular everyday decisions. But the very scary part of it is that every decision that I make, I have to deal with the consequences or the outcome of that decision, whether good or bad. It means that there is no blaming mommy or there is no blaming daddy for anything that happens to me because I made that decision. I thought through the entire process and I decided that yes, this was the best decision I could make at this particular time. I find that very, very scary because being in your 20s or just generally, we know that making decisions can define our future. Even those very tiny decisions that doesn't seem like they are adding any value to your life, even like regular habits, things we decide to do, things we decide to eat in the mornings, like things we take into our body, if we decide to exercise, if we decide to read a book, it can potentially affect our lives in years to come. So I just wanted to share 5 simple steps that can help in making good decisions, with number 5 being the most important. So the first step will be for you to do a full analysis of the decision that you're trying to make. What's that thing on the table that you're trying to make a decision on? Why do you want to make that decision in the first place? While doing this full analysis, I want you to get a book, and on one page I want you to write yes, and the other page I want you to write no. So this means you're saying either yes to this thing that is on the table as a decision, or you're saying no as a decision to this thing that is on the table. Once you're done with that, I want you to go to the yes page. On the yes page, I want you to write the pros of saying yes to that thing and the cons of saying yes to that thing as well. So if you say yes to this particular thing, like if you make the decision, if you go ahead with this, how does it impact you? Like what is the advantage of saying yes to this thing? What do you stand to gain by saying yes to this thing, and what are the downsides or what are the challenges you would face if you actually say yes to this thing? And then go back to the no page, and I want you to do the same thing. Write the pros and cons of not going on with that decision. So with all that you've written down, the next step would be for you to assess how this would affect you right now. So go to the yes page, look at the pros and the cons. How does this affect you right now? If I go ahead, like if it is a yes, just judging by the pros and the cons, if I take this decision right now, how does it affect me right now? How would my life be impacted by this decision if I decide to go ahead with this? Now, once you think about that, please write it down. Write it down on the yes page. Now go back to the no page, and I also want you to think the same thing. Like if I decide not to go with this decision, how would this impact me right now? What would happen if I decide not to go with this thing? If I decide to say no to this thing, how would it affect me? How would it impact me right now? Write that down as well. The third step would be for you to assess how this would affect you in the future. By future, I'm talking 5 to 10 years from now. Assess the long-term implication of that thing. So, for example, go back to your book, and on the yes page, like we want to be thinking, if I say yes to this thing, how would it affect me in the long run? In 5 to 10 years, how would this thing have impacted my life? Would it impact me positively if I say yes to this, or would it impact me negatively if I say yes to this? They only give me like a temporary benefit, or would it affect me in the long run? Like just things like that. Like if I say yes to this, how would my life be affected in the long run? Write that down as well. The long-term implication, write it down. And then go back to the no page as well, and I also want you to think about the same thing. If I say no to this, if I do not agree to this, or if I do not say yes to this decision, to this thing that I'm trying to make a decision on, Would that affect me negatively? Would that help me? Would that impact me in any way that I wouldn't like? Or would it be great that I actually decided not to go ahead with this thing in the first place? Think that through and then write it down as well. So the fourth step would be for you to actually assess what would happen if you don't make a decision. So I know that sometimes not making a decision or sitting on the fence may equate to you basically saying no, but in some cases it's possible that you can delay your decision. Saying no might be you writing that thing off completely, but you're not making a decision might mean that you are either going to come back to it or not. You get, like, it's not entirely a no, or but in some cases it might be a no, but in some cases it's not entirely a no. So these are things I want you to think about. Like, if I do not make a decision right now, how would that affect me? If I do not say a yes or no to this thing that I'm trying to do, what impact would that have on me? What impacts would that have on me, not just now but in the future? Would I regret this? Would I not regret this? Would I be happy to live without this thing? Would I be glad that I didn't even make a decision in the first place? Like, things like that. If you don't make a decision, how would that affect you? Write it down as well. Write all these things down in a separate page. Now, the final and most important step, which I would want to stress on, is to assess how you feel about that decision you're about to make. Now, this works for me every time. How do I mean? No matter how glamorizing something looks, no matter how good it looks, no matter how shiny it looks, no matter how its potential looks so great, regardless of all those things, if I do not feel peace in my heart to go ahead with that thing, I will not go ahead with it. This is not even about taking risks or not, because if I feel in my heart that this thing would definitely work, but right now it's not clear, I can take that step. I'm one that always trusts my instincts, and by God's grace, in most cases, my instincts never lie. It means if I feel a deep sense of peace within me, I know that that thing is right, even if that thing doesn't make sense to everyone. On the flip side, there are some things that doesn't even look good. It's not even looking promising. It's not looking great. But because of the way you are feeling, you have hope that that thing will turn for the better. And even if no one can see it, you can see that if I give this thing some time, it's going to become the best decision I've ever made. The long and short of everything I'm trying to say is trust your guts. If something is off, then something might be wrong. I think that it is important to note that making decisions is not something that we should take lightly. And as someone in my 20s, like, I've learned the hard way, both through my experiences and the experiences of people around me, that your decisions can come back to bite you in the future if you're not careful. In some cases it might not, but in some cases it would come back to bite you. And this means that at every point that you have to make a decision, do not take it lightly. Be serious and take your time to properly analyze these things, regardless of how little it looks. Even the tiny things that we do, from what we eat to what we drink to daily choices to daily habits, it can come back and bite us in the future. So you really need to be careful and probably analyze or assess things before you make a decision. I hope that this video has been helpful, and if this is the type of content that you like, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, share and comment, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.